Snap introduced the new spectacles and Snap OS.
They're actual glasses, right? So unlike the Apple thing, you're seeing through glass.
Any distraction while you're walking down any sidewalk or street in Tokyo is dangerous to you.
But something like this, if it had some heads-up display, yeah, I get it. I get that. I get where it has some value.
Aloha, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily AI Show. It's Wednesday, so that means it's News Day. So we're going to go around the world and talk about the latest and greatest news and bring hopefully really exciting news or news that we're really excited about. We're going to start off with Andy, who's joining us internationally from Tokyo, Japan. Welcome, Andy. What do you got for us?
Good evening here. I wanted to point out that it's really wonderful to do this news show from Japan because, see, you guys are just starting your day, Wednesday, September 18th, and I've already been through the whole thing, so I know what has already happened. What's going to happen for you, it's already happened for me, so I can share this news with everybody ahead of the game.
Love it.
Anyway. Yes, I'm live from Tokyo today.
Nice. All right. So what is our future news, Andy?
Okay, I wanted to talk about the news announced last week by Google called Data Gemma. And this is really important in the progression of progress on models and methods with models in eliminating hallucination. So hallucination is an issue. And, there are various strategies to address it using prompts that attempt to, have the LLM do some checking of its own to ensure that it's not just fascinating something into its response. But what's really been missing is that the models are trained on a very wide range of data of various qualities that have been hoovered up from the internet. And so one of the early examples of hallucination or big mistakes done by LLM models in its interest in trying to satisfy your request was an example where it provided as seemingly real a parody from The Onion because that was in its training data, and it didn't really in those early days didn't have enough reinforcement learning to understand that that's a parody. That's not really data. It's not founded in anything other than some imagination of some humans who wrote that very funny article. So Data Gemma from Google is a whole new approach, and they're trying to create a ground truth reference from the data commons collection that Google has assembled over many years using its search capabilities. So data commons is a collaborative data set of real world facts. Like these have been curated into the data commons, just like in Wikipedia. You can pretty much rely on what's in Wikipedia with some very rare sort of small scale exceptions because there's a collaborative editing of those to validate the quality of the data. So that's what the data commons is. And so they've paired a small model, Gemma, with this data commons, and it works in one of two ways. One of the ways that it works is it takes the question or the query from the user and it then runs the answer. And then it takes the answer and runs it against the Gemma model using the Gemma model, it runs it against the data commons to correct anything that seems to be erroneous in the original response from the Gemma model. And they call this retrieval interleaved generation. So they're going out and getting some information in the process of generating the response, but not prior to the generation of the response. They also have a slightly different method, which is where they use the Gemma model, but before the Gemma model isn't the one that actually produces the response. Gemma model is the one that goes out and queries the data commons data, brings it back, and then compiles it in a new prompt to hand over to a large context window model. In the case of Google, that's Gemini Pro 1.5, which can handle all of that information that was collected by the Gemma model from the data commas that's relevant to the query and puts it into a large context window and gets an answer back. Both of those methods have been shown to be dramatically better at quality and accuracy of data delivered back to the user because it's rooted in this data commons architecture. So really exciting progress there. And it's related to, the emergence of O1 last week as well, in the sense that here's an example of an application that uses RAG in the example I just gave, where it goes out and collects the data commons information and compiles that into the prompt, and then uses a large model, maybe even, Gemini Advanced, to generate based on those things. Or, it has the opportunity to use a more advanced model, but it turns out that Gemini Pro 1.5 is about as good as it gets in the Gemini suite anyway. So it's related because now you could have a really advanced reasoning model that's architecting this as an agent. And it's doing those kind of operations that I just described that are interacting with multiple sources of information, a small model, the data commons, web search, etc., and bringing those all back in an iterative process that really refines the quality of the answer. So we're really moving forward on the algorithmic enhancements to LLMs, and that's an exciting development that I think was really newsworthy in this past week.
Yeah, we were talking about O1 yesterday, and that's essentially the big takeaway is that it can be run as that composer or conductor. So that's really exciting news, Andy. I really enjoy that. Does anybody have a burning bit of news? If they don't, I've got one ready to go. No?
I think you gotta go do it, you and me.
I gotta do it. Okay, cool. All right. Now, this came out almost a week ago, and everybody knows that I love AI and science. So the University of Limerick from Ireland, working with this Indian university, come up with a way to, they've designed a neuromorphic platform. So neuromorphic is basically computing design based off of the human brain, right? We got all those squiggly lines and everything like that. Well, apparently those squiggly lines are very important in how we process our own information, right? And so they have a method now where they can map out how the different states of a electrical current bounces in between all of those squiggly lines. And those different states can allow for data and can allow for processing, right? Now, what makes this a huge breakthrough is this science has been around for a little while, but they're able to now create a very efficient, resource-intensive workload of 4.1 tera operations per second per watt. So that's 4.1 TOPS per watt. Now, compared to the top end circuitry we have, which is about 20, and those are like the NVIDIA, A100s and things like that, it's finally reached a point where it's in that realm. Not the very top, but it's in the realm where you can have these very, very efficient processing. Now, what's really cool about this is they're able to map that whole molecule pattern. So now you're going to see, you can use this method, this neuromorphic platform for nearly any medium, right? So we're going to see eco-friendly materials through everyday items like clothing, food packaging, building materials. So you can get computing in like anything. So in the material science world, in AI processing, ML processing, this is going to be huge. If you remember the movie Minority Report, and Tom Cruise is looking at a holographic ad or image on his box of cereal, this is what I'm imagining. Your box of cereal could be an AI computing service. So that's what I'm most excited about. And that came out almost a week ago, and I can't believe I didn't know about it until today. So that's my most exciting story. And then we got a bunch of stories coming out from other places like California and their recently passed AI laws, but I'll let someone else talk about that.
Well, I think that brings up questions about, recycling, because now you're recycling electronics as part of your recycling. That complicates things quick. So I can't wait for like the EU to shut that down if it ever becomes a thing. The EU is not going to have any of that. And then also, I was happy with hypercolor as a kid. Heat changing fabric. I mean, I don't need to have a chip embedded and stuff, unless it's going to be like Back to the Future and I'm going to press a button and it's just going to shorten the jacket to my size or the shoes to my feet or something like that.
Right.
I'll Michael J. Fox it, but otherwise, I don't think I need this.
well, Brian, think of it this way: it's not like a circuit board or chip. Like, they can print solar panels now, right? Like, you can paint on a solar panel. They have that tech. You can literally paint the computing surface like you would a printer. So as long as it's eco-friendly and recyclable, I know it sounds funny, but you are. What about wearables, right? I can power all the computing I need based on putting on a jacket at night, going out.
That's
I
true.
don't know.
Yeah. By the way, I like that Jen said in the comments, the minute I said recycling, Jen said that Karl was cycling runtime. So yeah, I love that our audience knows us so well at this point that Jen wanted to take the moment to say, like, anything you want to throw in there about recycling, Karl? I mean, I feel like Jen's asking. So any thoughts on this before we move on?
Literally, when you said recycling, I don't know if anyone saw, my eyes went up and then my brow furrowed. And then I'm like, nothing's ready right now. And yesterday, side story, I had to take out the recycling yesterday, and then I actually tripped and a whole bunch of stuff fell out. And when I was picking this up, and I was like, hold on a second, if a robot but then I thought about the Optimus and all these robots that are out there. It's like, I would have to pick all this stuff up, and then cans and all over the place. So I was like, hey, look, you need to give me a robot that can do this. So go into my dresser, take it out, go down the stairs, go up the stairs, go out, open the gate, put it in, put it all the way down, and without dropping anything. Hold on. If you can get,
imagine like, I imagine like an Optimus or something with a can, and it's looking at Karl and it's emptying can, and Karl's like, what the hell? And it just goes, sorry, Karl. Like, oh, you dropped it again. just empty baskets back in the house. Like, where is the recycling? I don't know, down the stairs, in the driveway, everywhere but the can.
No, and it dumps. Anyway, so I'm actually gonna play off Junmi's news in terms of wearables. I want to just put out the yesterday. I don't know if anyone's paying attention. Snap introduced the new spectacles and Snap OS. It's looking on the site here, the new frontier of AR glasses. Now, I don't know, we've been down this road so many times with so many different companies. So I'm just going to present the actual website or web page that has this introduction. And I think the big thing I'm always looking at is, what does this thing look like on my face when I'm walking around? When I looked at this, I was like, there's no way this is done. No one's going to walk around with something like that. It's just like, look how thick it is. It's like, it's so big. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. I was about to say, they look like snorkel goggles.
No,
yeah,
they were making fun of Apple Vision. I'm not going to play this entire video, but obviously it's going. So how to be like? So I'm going to put it on like this. So this is what you'll look like with it on. Again, it's not going to happen. Like, in a subway, you're going to be
So
doing,
their
I
big,
don't
their
think so.
big selling point is that it's not an Apple Vision.
I
Like,
think
not
so.
that it looks good, but that it doesn't look as bad.
Well, I mean, the Meta glasses though look like, you know.
So it's funny. It's like, how to be a
Wow.
regular. Like, I don't think the
Yeah.
dude at is not going to be wearing that, and that I just don't think
It's not normal day.
it's just I just
I got to see this commercial.
it's like as big as
I mean, honestly, let me just talk about the brilliance of this because the glasses are oversized for her face. They look a little bit more normal in the guy's face because it's a little bigger. But what's genius about this is they're taking away from the size of their glasses by completely going out there with making fun of the Apple Apple one. So they're kind of like, I mean, it's kind of genius, honestly. I'm won over. I don't see myself wearing these like anything else. It's like, I don't know, if I'm in a plane, if I'm in the car, if I'm not moving and I could care less what it looks like on my face, but it serves a purpose. Sure. I get that. You know, I don't like taking out my laptop on a plane because number one, people can see your screen and there's almost no room anymore. You're not going to do that on a Frontier or a Spirit flight. But something like this, if it had some heads-up display, yeah, I get it. I get that. I get where it has some value. But day to day, like they're showing,
I would wear these. And one of the things that I think, there are two things that I think are key about this. They're actual glasses, right? So unlike the Apple thing, you're seeing through glass immediately what you're seeing. But the other thing is, I would love to have something like that so that I'm following instructions while I'm walking and I'm not trying to like orient my phone and do that kind of thing. Like that would be super helpful for me, particularly when something's in my hands. And I saw this too, and I think it's a $99 price point. And previous innovations wearables have said people are willing to pay $99 on it might not work. Right?
that's true.
So, like, this could be a successful thing.
Because every time they pop up, it's like it's just to get larger as the commercial goes on.
It's just like, it's so heavy.
I have a quick question. Andy, you're in Tokyo right now. So assuming their prescription, right, because you wear glasses. So assuming their prescription and they gave you, to what Beth just said, some heads-up display, would you, I'm assuming you don't know Japanese, so I'm assuming that's a foreign language to you. So like, would you walk through downtown Tokyo? We've all seen, I've never been there, but I've seen the videos of the big intersections and things like that, and things aren't necessarily English. If it aided you moving around Tokyo, would you happily wear these on your head in public to get around?
Well, let me just say that any distraction while you're walking down any sidewalk or street in Tokyo is dangerous to you. You need to be paying full attention without augmentation. But I will say there is some appeal to a heads-up display type, projection onto my field of view. If it's not interrupting my main area of focus, I think that can be useful. I do have the experience, Beth, as you describe, of having, to stop every once in a while, pull myself off to the side and look at my phone to look at the instructions that, because I don't know my way around in this particular area. I'm in Gotanda. I need to have, walking instructions, exactly where to go. And so I've been spending a lot of time, unfortunately, looking down at my phone. However, you'll notice that most of the Japanese, as in the United States, as they're walking around, are looking down at their phone, right? Not because they're trying to get additional information about where they are. They're on their walking commute from the train station to wherever they're going to work, and they're into their phone, social media, and otherwise.
So I had a quick thought. If it can give you true AR and heads-up display, then perhaps it can give you predictive analysis and identification of possible dangers. So while you're watching your video while you're walking, or you're seeing your ad for whatever building you're lensing, finding out information about a shop or something. Perhaps it can pick up a passing car that could be dangerous, or a throng of people running at you. I think that would be helpful, especially if we're solving a problem.
That's an interesting idea. That there might be alerts that such a glasses system could provide to you.
Yeah.
Again, I think that those could be interruptions to my attention that I don't favor when there's so much density of movement and traffic. I think the better technology would be a bipedal robot who carries me along while I look at my phone and I'm doing my TikTok.
There you go, your walking chair, right? Yeah, no. See, when anyone says HUD or heads-up display, I always imagine fighter pilot. So, like, so I can put on my glasses and I'm walking down the street as a fighter pilot, picking up like bogeys as they come on the street. I'm at that point, it just becomes a video game.
There is a video of this. It's not like, because I don't want to derail this conversation about news, but there is a video I'll go find. I have shared it with people multiple times. I always forget the name of the video. I need to save it. Anyway, somebody made a fictional video, but like 8 years ago, maybe even longer that ago, about this like sort of future, not dystopian, but like this future of having a world that's gamified with heads-up displays and people having that, and what that's like and the distractions of it. It's a really, really well done fiction piece. God, it's got to be like 8 years ago. So it's well before this whole push with Gen AI or anybody really having any true heads-up displays. I'll find it, and I actually think I'll put it in our internal Slack show because I actually think it'll be a great show topic to talk about that, because it's sort of like the dangers of be careful what you wish for,
Right.
Yeah, it's like that kind of thing. Be careful what you wish for, AI, because it can probably do it and you may not like it. And then what do you do? Your stuff. So anyway, go ahead.
Well, before we move on to other news stories, there is a couple more Snap related ones. They announced a whole bunch of stuff over the last couple of days. One is they've added more features to their My AI, including what they're calling Google Lens types features, like identify this plant for me, and things like enhancing their selfies with event timers and things like that. And the other thing that I found more interesting is you can create your own Snap lenses, essentially 3D models with motion and things like that, just by describing it from text prompting for these 3D characters, costumes, outfits, things like that. And finally, they're getting into the text to video game. So that should be very interesting to see how Snap takes on text to video for their customers, their consumers, as opposed to other big names like OpenAI, Adobe, and Runway. So yeah, a lot of news coming out of Snap. Beth, what's your top story for this week?
All right. Probably surprising no one. My top story this week was all about Agent Force, Salesforce's new AI agentic agent that can go from analyzing the data to being able to take actions, right? And one of the demos is being able to schedule a complicated installation, right? So we go from the sales process to the confirmation to now the installation, and the agent can go all the way through that. The other thing that was really exciting about it is that Salesforce is actually thinking kind of all the way through their user system. So you can basically set this up like a custom GPT, right? Like, this is who you are. This is what you do. These are the instructions about how you do it. Then you can pick actions. The actions can be things that you created as flows or you created as code. They're really trying to be mindful about where this fits in with the existing ecosystem that is Salesforce. And it looks really interesting. And as I've said before, if you're interested in this, Salesforce training is entirely free at Trailhead. So, like, you can go and see how this could be used and play a bit with it. There's also like information for devs if you want to take this further. They're also making this ability open so that you could develop a custom tool based on this if you're a Salesforce dev or another kind of dev. Really lovely. It's called Agent Force right now. And the only thing that I will say is that we know that they love to change the names. So I'm calling it right next Dreamforce. This is going to be changed to like Einstein Agent. I'm just telling you right now, it's going to be updated, but it's going to have a different name. Yeah, Karl.
The comment I had was, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, there was a news release from Salesforce saying that they will pivot. They're making a hard pivot to agents, so hence Agent Force. But the question I had in my mind is, I think Benioff actually recognizes this. If we each of us have an agent, personal agent that can go out and do stuff, why would we use a Salesforce agent? Because if our agent can go into Salesforce and extract the exact same data that we would ourselves be able to do, create reports, create these things, then Salesforce data is moot, because not only can my agent do that, it can connect with other things as well. So it's like connect with my data to Salesforce, do additional research. So to me, Salesforce is in a tough spot, because I would imagine, because he was just on the All-In, there's a bunch of clips with him, Jensen, and David Sachs, I think, from the All-In podcast. And David said, we just saw a product roadmap and we saw some things that OpenAI was showing us, including, he was saying it's like, reasoning, but then he was talking about agents are coming next and they can use tools. So I was like, well, if my agent could do it, why would I use a Salesforce agent? So that was just a thought about that.
Go ahead, Andy.
My comment's related, and that is that I've seen several, more than 2 influencers / commentators on the social feeds, both in X and in TikTok, talking about AI, and specifically talking about the disintermediation of the big SaaS companies that have provided applications at great expense to enterprise that are basically applications on top of a database that's run in the cloud. And that's what Salesforce is. Now, they've built, lots of different features around that, but we've talked on this show about the prospect of agentic coding agents being able to replicate a CRM system in its entirety locally for the enterprise with full customization. And the main issue is that today a major enterprise paying for Salesforce seats is paying thousands of dollars per seat for their services through Salesforce. And it accumulates to, order of magnitude in many enterprises, not just $100,000, but in the very largest enterprises with enormous sales forces distributed globally, there's $1 million going out the door every year, and they can build their own software and run it at a fraction of that. So that's an interesting side piece. And maybe the strategy is for Salesforce that they need to be the purveyors of those agents in order to make sure that they're not fully reliant on providing database services to companies in the cloud.
Right. And what Salesforce is built on, and we did a show about this a long time ago now, but Salesforce is really built on what they refer to as the trust layer, right? And as more change happens, I expect that some enterprises will be like, oh, great, we can do a bunch of things. We're going to do our own thing. But I would say the vast majority of enterprises are likely to say, we're going to keep some things, we're going to get the same result by maintaining relationships that we already have and can understand that. And the other thing that is always a trade-off between a customization and an off-the-shelf kind of customization, is that if you are engaged in Salesforce or Microsoft or any of those kinds of big enterprise, we adopted this, you can swap out your experts, right? There's a certain path. People have a kind of fundamental level of knowledge. And if you do it completely custom, now you're dependent on your own ability to document and that team's ability to transfer that knowledge.
But couldn't you build your own expert? Like, couldn't you build your own AI expert in said field? So rather than rely on that expert to be like, oh, I can build my own Salesforce expert who very specifics, like Salesforce agent who does this, and this, and with your agent, you can do that. That's kind of like the thinking I'm looking at. I would imagine Benioff has to have seen this coming. Like, it's not hard to connect all these dots together, right? So, but Salesforce would be in a tough spot. And I know enterprise moves really slow.
Yeah. All right. So that was my news story. Maybe we should do a show on Salesforce.
Right.
So that was just the first day of Dreamforce. There's more coming.
Right. But I don't think we've heard from Brian yet. Brian, what stories you got?
I just have a few, but I can run through them pretty quick because they're kind of short little notes on them, unless we want to dive in deeper. So iOS 18 officially came out on the for everybody. You don't necessarily have to have a 16 or anything like that, or 15 Pro. I've downloaded it with my family, as we typically do, and there is actually a lot of really cool updates within it that I recommend people go check out. Now, as you can see here, even without AI, the article here that is true. That would come with 18.1. Or at least that's what we're being told. And obviously there's, as far as Apple Intelligence, you do have to have at least the new 16 or the Pro models of the 15 in order to get that. So more to be seen on this side. But even so, I would say I'm really impressed with some of the updates and features. If you're an Apple user, that I think you'll really appreciate some of the small changes that they've made. One of my favorites, though, is that you can do the voice memos with transcription. That's just super helpful. I don't even know that we would even consider that to be a whole lot of AI at this point. It is, but nothing new or revolutionary, just a really easy, useful tool. So I'm really looking forward to that. Another thing, two things on the OpenAI side of the house is the first one is this article says OpenAI is reportedly going all in as a for-profit company. This is something Sam Altman has mentioned in the past. It's not like this is brand new news, but he's brought it up again and said in 2025, there will probably be a restructuring, if you will, of OpenAI. They've said things like, we've outgrown our current model. We don't have time to get into it now, but it's a really funky model. It's not even just like a for-profit underneath a non-profit. It's like underneath that for-profit, it's like three other things going on, which is what we all kind of know. So look, this is not really shocking. I think this is basically OpenAI needing to make investors, feel very safe and secure. And there's moves that they probably need to make, from investments and getting additional rounds of funding, as we were seeing from people on X say, like, so they can go build the data centers, so they can have, to do the things they're trying to do to move towards AGI. So this isn't like shocking or anything, but it's, we'll see what happens in 2025. But I think it makes a lot of sense. Towards the bottom of this article, there is a quote. An OpenAI spokesperson told Fortune and Reuters that the company's nonprofit arm is, quote, core to our mission and will continue to exist, end quote, as OpenAI stays, quote, focused on building AI that benefits everyone, end quote. I mean, that didn't really tell us much other than to say they will continue to have a nonprofit arm of OpenAI, but the for-profit probably will not be underneath the umbrella of the nonprofit. So things are changing, but that's not really that shocking. On other news with OpenAI, Sam Altman removed himself, or not removed, I guess he took himself off the Safety and Security Committee, which I think, again, probably something that investors want to see. So none of these moves are really shocking. I think OpenAI, we know they're trying to get like a whatever their valuation was going to be. It was a massive valuation, and their funding round that they're trying to get for it. And when you get to the levels of people, outside of Microsoft, and you're asking for a $400 million investment in what to do, as you would expect, these companies have some real asks about how you're doing your business. And so I'm not surprised to see this either. This makes sense to me. And it also just seems like the right move. Do you really want Sam Altman on his own safety and security committee? I would say no. He doesn't need to be on there. It should be more independent. That's what we would like to see. So those are two OpenAI stories. And then I just have two other quick ones really quick. Slack has got some new AI features. It's for the paid model. So it's like some of us use the free side of it, and so we might not see this. But simple things like, again, transcripts, right? Not world shaking news here with AI, but it's good. You jump in a huddle, which is their like mini chats that you can have. And I just was in one yesterday with a coworker because we were talking back and forth. She's like, "You got 5 minutes?" Yep. Huddle. Right? And you jump on, and now what it'll do is it'll transcribe that and bring in notes into it, which actually is really, really helpful. I find huddles awesome because it sort of breaks me out of the monotony of, let me schedule a Zoom call. Oh, what is your schedule? Oh, okay, you're free a week from now? Okay, I don't want to talk about this a week from now, but I do have 30 seconds to talk about it right now, and it would be much faster if I don't have to type it. So boom, huddle, you're in, and then to get the quick transcription notes out of that is actually really, really cool. So I'm looking forward to what Slack does. Slack is owned by Salesforce, right? So this, sort of in line with what Beth was just talking about as well. And then this is probably the most interesting one, which is chip startup Groq, who we talk about. That's Groq. So there's two different Groqs. There's one with a K and one with a Q. The K is the one that's with Elon Musk in X and what they're doing. But Groq is a chip maker, and they are being backed by Saudi AI ambitions with a Aramco, I think that's how you say it, deal. So really interesting stuff here. I feel like you guys might have more to talk, so I wanted to do this last because we kind of bring it up for discussion. But interesting what they're doing. Basically, it has to do with like the Aramco. They're into oil, and they're with funding development that is expected to cost an order of 9 figures. They're doing it because there's a lot of land there. They can work with the Saudi government. So really interesting. We've been following Groq for a while, and what they're doing with their language processing units, their LPUs. So they're doing things a little bit different. And if you remember back several months ago, their speed at which they could return answers was far superior to anything else. Nowadays, I'm not so sure you would see as much of a difference between GPT-4o and what we saw, but they're definitely doing things differently with their language processing units. So those are the stories that I had for this week.
And that last story I found really interesting. So Aramco is the original collaboration between the U.S. government and the Saudi government, right? It was essentially created so that Saudi could funnel oil into the United States. Mm-hmm. That's what it's existed there. It's there been for over 50 years at this point now. And so they have that really deep relationship. And we know from several months ago, the Saudi government also created this $40 billion AI plan that they wanted to push forward as well. So this may be one of the major fruits of that labor, so to speak, by bringing a hardware manufacturer, right, the shovels and pickaxes folks, to be brought in instead of like an NVIDIA or anything like that, because Groq's a startup, so there's more room for growth and being able to pivot, adaptation, things like that. So I think this is actually going to be a pivotal movement in the region for the AI space. So we should definitely keep more attention to that. So yeah, Aramco is an oil company essentially, but because they have the relationship with both of those nations, we're probably going to see a lot of bureaucracy get cut through. So we'll see a lot of movement very quickly. So that's a very interesting story. So thank you, Brian, for bringing that up. I do have a couple of small stories that I want to go through before we wrap up for the day. Mistral, hot on the heels of announcing Pixtral, they're offering a free tier now. There's a free tier for developers, so they can get started with experimentation, evaluation, prototyping at no cost. So this is a great. The barrier is even lower than it was before to get into the open source AI development and get onto the Mistral platform and start working with them on that. So I thought that was a great move by them. We also get a lot of news coming out of California. They had 5 laws just get written in, and the top 3 are AB 2655, which is requires large online platforms like Facebook and X to remove or label AI deepfakes related to elections, just flat out, and ways to report it. 2355, it requires disclosures on any AI-generated political advertisements. So if there's a political party and they're putting something out, they gotta label it if it's AI. And one of the last ones that I thought was, or the last 2 that I thought is most interesting in the film sphere is 2602 and 1836. So 2602 requires studios to obtain permission from an actor before creating an AI-generated replica. If you know SAG-AFTRA's strike that they had months ago, they worked out a deal to where there's got to be communication between the two. But this is now a law that that the producers have to obtain permission from an actor before they create the digital copy. And then 1836 prohibits studios from creating digital replicas of deceased performers without consent from their estates. And that is most relevant because of James Earl Jones' recent passing, but his estate, and he blessed the Lucasfilm in using his voice for Vader. So, but it's really nice to see some of this progression in the governance side of things. And why is it important if it's just California? Well, California is a huge economy and a huge part of the entire union. So when California makes these kinds of decisions, we see the branching out effect into the rest of the country and even globally in some ways. So I thought that was really interesting. No movement on SB 1047, which is the big contentious law right now. But we plan on, or it's being talked about that it's probably going to be coming off of Newsom's desks pretty recently or soon. And then finally, Human.ai releases V2 of their interface, and you can see through their channel on X, it's nothing but just very OpenAI style clips showing a live demo of their new voices, interactions, translation capabilities, and things like that. Maybe in the next few days, we'll see some actual real world applications. And finally, something that's a little closer to my heart is Runway released their API, or at least a waitlist for their API. And this might be because other text-to-video companies are starting to release their API, such as Luma and things like that. What this would allow for the post-production folks is to programmatically create their content, or at least modify their content as part of their post-production workflow, which will save an immense amount of time, offer tons of different applications, and just really gets the gears going. So that's those are all my little short news there. Does anybody have another story? There is a couple of questions from chat that I wanted to bring up, but
I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that we are now saying that it has been released when they have put a site up that invites a wait list, right? Like,
yes,
come on.
yes,
That's just, I wanted to note that.
Speaking of which, in related news, I still don't have advanced voice mode from OpenAI.
Same. I'm with you on that. When are we going to see Sora? So I think I think we need another, maybe not this week or maybe next week's newsletter. We can do an update of where are they now? How many days are we waiting? Is Sora up to like 250 days at this point? I don't know, but it'd be nice to do a little catch up.
When O1 dropped, people were like, "When advanced voice?" And Sam can get very flippant, and he was like, "How about you play with the shiny toys that we gave you today, and we'll give you new shiny toys a little bit later."
Yeah, I mean, advanced voice mode is. I mean, I have it. It's good, but I don't think about it much. Like I don't. It's nothing that's to write home about, in my opinion. Maybe I'm missing like the ahas of it or something. But yeah,
it's the API that I want out of that. I don't care. Like I'll use it, but the API is what I want, because if you can get that, then opens the door to everything.
A lot of applications are possible.
Yeah.
Use it outside of custom GPTs, sure. But there's so many places where it's like, it doesn't work there. You're like, all right, well, in my custom GPTs, that would be phenomenal, because then I could attach it to some regs and things like that. It'd be pretty cool, like you're saying, Karl, but it's just not there yet.
A language
like this whole thing is, well, unless this whole thing is just waiting, once they release whatever they're releasing, Orion, as everyone assumes, then everything releases with that. Maybe that's kind of it, because you have advanced voice mode. And then I don't know if you've seen, I've got email notifications of status. Like I'm on the OpenAI status thing, and I've seen several, advanced voice mode there's been issues with voice mode for advanced users. I've been seeing that. So maybe it's not running
Released a little too early to the
maybe
they're limited.
Or again, waiting for election to just wait till election's over and, let it go. Maybe like end of October, when you can't really do anything with it anymore. Like you can't really influence anything. Maybe that's kind of where that is. If no one else is going, I just need to do one more.
Influence things.
One more thing is the Microsoft Copilot was announced. I don't know if anyone covered. I thought it was pretty big, but it was like not kind of really. So they released a couple things, but I think like the adoption of this was really tough, just because people are like, what am I actually going to do with this? So they have this new thing called Copilot Pages. I feel it's sort of like a Perplexity meets kind of like Claude Artifacts kind of deal. You have the PowerPoint updates with the narrative builder. Outlook's prioritize my inbox feature. It apparently Copilot Studio is getting better, so be worth to see testing out. But you still need Office 365, which is pretty pricey. So, and you need I think 350 licenses minimum to get that. I don't know if it's part of Copilot Pro, so hopefully it's a little bit better than what we've seen. Because I was funny though, they were saying, oh, now you can use GPT-4o for everything, or 4 for everything. I was like, thought we already had that. So I don't know what models, because I know when I was using it for some clients, you couldn't pick the models. So I don't know what models you're using, unless you're in Azure Studio, which is another fun activity there. So let's see. And then, just like Salesforce, Copilot agents. You can build agents inside of Copilot. Again, not sure where that's going to go.
There was something in the announcement that implied that what they're doing with Excel could potentially be like code interpreter, because it was going to be able to generate some code for analysis. But I'm not sure. What that's going to look like when it actually walks out.
Yeah.
But that was the one piece. That was the one piece that I was kind of interested in. But I had the same reaction, like 4. Why 4? Didn't like in the stale bagels now? Like what is happening?
Right. I think what's sad is if that's
unless anybody.
Nope. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. No. All right. We're going to wrap it up for today. We're definitely pushing time here. But I want to thank everybody for joining us in chat. It's always lively. We love you folks. And please, anybody who's watching who hasn't had the time to say hello, please say hello. We want to know everybody who is watching the show. So with that, we'll wrap it up. Tomorrow we have AI artist and Timberland. And then Friday we have our bi-weekly wrap-up show. So please join us tomorrow and Friday for the rest of the week. We love having you here. Thank you so much. And we'll see you tomorrow. Aloha.